Looking to be more productive and jump those hurdles of change and challenge easier? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Thrive in Life with your hosts, Zaheen Nanji.
Hello, and welcome to the Thrive in Life show, episode number 31, where we help you make resilience your first reflex. I'm your host, Zaheen Nanji. And today the episode is all about love. Now, I know at the time of recording this episode, we're in March, and I should have done this in February, being the month of love and all, but the things were not just working out for me then. So, hey, here you go. It's never too late. So I have my guest with us today, and her name is Kim Von Berg. Am I saying that right, Kim?
Perfect.
Okay. So I just wanted to do a little bio about her, and then we'll get right into it. Love coach Kim Von Berg is a dedicated and truly passionate about transforming the lives and relationships of singles and couples. Kim is a communication specialist and has a master's degree in humanistic psychology. Psychology, by the way, is my fave. She's also a California credentialed teacher and a certified NLP practitioner. For those of you who don't know, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, and I too have done that. In addition, she's a certified relationship coach approved by the International Coach Federation, ICF, and she is a Calling in the One certified coach, having trained with the national best-selling author, Catherine Woodward Thomas. Okay, say hi, Kim.
Hello, everyone. I feel so honored to be here.
Thank you for coming on the show. And I just want you to all know that we are doing the podcast as a video and an audio. So in case we save viewers and listeners, you know why? Because some of us watch while the rest of us may just listen on iTunes or iHeart or Google Play or Stitcher, whichever one of those you like. Okay, Kim, let's just get right into it. Now, from your website, you look like you really are so passionate about the topic. What made you get into this business?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to try to have that be the shorter version because I could probably go on for an hour just answering that question. Okay, so the short version, you know what I'm going to start with is what I've come to as my mission. Really the mission of why I created this business. And it comes from a belief that romantic partnerships are our greatest opportunity to not only evolve ourselves, but our hearts, because they give us this opportunity to deepen our capacity to love and be loved. And if we can do that with one other human being, we can do that with the world. You know, so it's just such an amazing, so that's why I started the business, actually co-created it with my late spouse. And we focused all about communication skills, and we were doing trainings all about that. And it was all kinds of relationships. We did parent-teens, we did employer-employee, we did every kind of relationship you can think of. And also couples, and sometimes singles, but primarily couples. And then it evolved to where we realized, oh my gosh, our relationship is such an example of the tough stuff that we work through. Was a model to people. And so more and more we focused on couples. And then unfortunately my spouse passed away in 2008, rare form of cancer. And I went through a really, I guess you could call it dark night of the soul. And when I came out of that, maybe 4 years after my spouse passed away, I was so reminded how important this is as my mission, and recreated the business into what it is today. And also in my own little trials at 50 years old with dating, I realized, oh my gosh, I have more to learn. And went back to the drawing board on that one, and trained with Catherine Wilbur Thomas in realizing how amazing her work is and calling in the one, and became certified with her stuff. So I now do a lot for both singles and couples at this
Yes.
point.
Oh, wow.
That was the shorter version, but
But it's so true, isn't it? That we always learn from our own kind of
oh gosh,
life, and we want to turn that into a message because we learn so much from it that we want to share that, right? And I know with my own life story, you know, like we all go through obstacles and things like that, and
oh my God.
I always want to take a spin at it, you know, and say, how can I look at this differently, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, good on you for sharing that with others.
Yes.
Now, being that this is about thriving life, what is a thriving relationship?
Wasn't that funny? Yours is thriving life and mine's thriving loving.
Relationships.
Like they're meant to be. Hand in glove here. So thriving, loving relationships. Oh my gosh. I'm actually in the throes of thinking about writing a book on that topic, but you know, I'll give you, again, I'll do my best to keep this shorter version. I teach in a lot of my workshops and programs and all this. A lot of it's based on what I call the foundation to a thriving, loving relation. And when we can learn that, then we can build it out and create this. And even before the foundation, it starts with two people being healthy emotionally and having a strong self-love and self-esteem. And it really takes two strong, you know, healthy people to come together to have a healthy, thriving relationship. So from there, the foundation that I teach is making a commitment. I call it the I space and the we space. Making an equal commitment to the I space and the we space. And we can nurture those two arenas. You can almost visualize kind of a weight scale. And we nurture the we space with a number of things, but one of them is something I teach workshops on. Is called deep listening. And I'll probably mention that if we have time a little bit later, but it's very, very important to have that skill set. And then it's really showing appreciation to one another on a regular basis, and then committing to having some form of deep intimacy, you know, through touch, sexuality, any kind of emotional depth, you know, the deep intimacy. Intimacy isn't just about sex, but it includes sex. And then it's really about having shared purpose, like life purpose and shared purpose as the couple. Mm. So that's the we space. And then the I space is really a commitment to the to individual growth, you know, on a regular basis. And I may have to glance at my notes because sometimes when I get all excited and my brain goes out the
no worries.
And so yeah, the I space is also around, oh, absolutely important. I'm so glad I looked at the notes, is around really being in touch with our inner, I call it inner landscape, but it's what are our feelings and our needs and our own experience and desires, and sharing that with our partner, but we do it in a way that's skillful. And I teach stuff around that. How do you do that in a way that's non-blameful and can be heard?
Yeah.
So share our inner experience, and then we develop our, I call it highest self, but it could be like your greatest self, like the self that's tapped into life purpose, and then seeing that highest self in our beloved. Mm-hmm. So when we can do all of this nurturing of the I space and the we space, something miraculous just seems to, I call it the thriving part, you know, where it just opens up to what I really feel we're here to do is, you know, contribute to humanity. But you have this strong we, the strong coupledom that's like a model to people and opens up to more joy. but you really can't do one without the other. I think that's my main point.
So what you're trying to say is that with the thriving, it's not just about looking at the relationship alone, but you also have to look at yourself, right? And
absolutely.
Yes, and then make sure that you're secure in your own way, because I think when you love yourself and you have that high esteem about yourself, then you're secure, and then everything else will fall into place, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, because if you don't have that, basic self-esteem, I really think they're a little different, self-love and that's another interview there. But anyway, but if you don't have those two things in place, it's really hard, like, not to take things personally, and it's really hard not to have your buttons pushed and all these, not that I don't say that you won't have your buttons pushed. You will have your buttons pushed at times, but you'll have this baseline, this foundation that it doesn't cream you, I guess, is the trying. It doesn't just completely wipe you out. So, it is hard. Let's face it. I mean, to really build this stuff, it does take some effort. Of
course.
Yeah.
So then, Kim, how would, someone who is watching this or listening to it, how would they know that that they need help? That maybe they can make the relationship thrive better as we age, right?
Right. Oh gosh, that's a good question. There's so many ways that it could show up that it's usually a gut level you sense that there could be more. And I'm assuming you're talking about someone already in a relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. But, just knowing that there could be more of a depth of connection, and you kind of know that if you go inside and know that, wow, we're sort of like ships passing in the night, or you kind of or of course the obvious is if you're arguing and not getting along. But even if you are getting along, sometimes it's just sort of this gradual thing that can happen a lot. It happens a lot in our busy lives that we just sort of get more and more sort of apart from one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. Now when I look at, and I think I should make sure to let the viewers and listeners know that, yes, we're going to talk more about couples this interview instead of singles, because I think that with all the conflicts that could occur, I think this is a good interview to have when it comes to building the bounce back muscle when it comes to the relationship that you have. So now when I look at my in-laws, right? Because they're here and I see them almost every week. They're in their 80s. And when I look at them, it's like, they are, times that they're just fed up with each other. But when they're apart, even for 2 days, it's like, oh, I miss him. Oh, I miss her. So even though you're on each other's nerves, but you still have that love, it's not lost. So what would you call that? Like, is that just thriving again? And is that something that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if someone were to watch them, they would say, why don't they just get on with it? And, why don't they just appreciate each other? But they do. But this is their way of showing it, I guess. Is that normal? Is that okay?
You mean, is it normal for them to bicker?
I guess bicker is the right word. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to admit, we went through that phase too. I was together for 20 years with my spouse. And we were both headstrong people that led companies and stuff. And so, and I think it's very normal, but I think what we learned in all that work to make it more rich, our relation, and become more of a model since we started the business of thriving, loving relationships, is to create something that it takes you out of the day-to-day, you know, so that there's more richness to it. Like, for example, doing relationship workshops or doing something together that just takes you out of that. So you don't just get into that, the day-to-day rat race of bickering about the dishes in the sink and, you know,
You know, one of the things that that I hear a lot from, especially from women, is how they have a hard time getting the other spouse to do the work, right?
Right.
And to help in the household and to do that. And when things are not done, that's when the bickering starts. And then it starts with little fights, and then it goes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it goes into chaos. And then when it goes into chaos, you don't want to be there because it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
So what are some tips, I guess, that you can share with the viewers and the listeners about how they can have a thriving relationship, you know, whether they are fighting or not fighting? I mean, you know, I can share something with you about me and my husband. We've been married for about 16 years, and it's it's not long, but, you know, we also have a business together.
Right.
And I get asked by so many clients, you know, how do you guys get along? Like, you're always so happy, and you're always, and for the longest time I thought, we just do. But then, of course, with my background in NLP as well, I think it's the way I speak to him. I think it's the way that the language that is used there. And I stepped into his shoes quite a bit to understand where he's coming from.
Right.
And I believe a lot of us miss that. Yes?
Oh, yeah. There's a number of factors that have run through my head in your question. But I think it's a couple things that are going on other than just the situation of the husband not doing his part at home, or, you know, like that kind of thing that you mentioned. I think another factor that I always look at when a couple first comes to me is what is going on in each person's life. I mean, they may be sharing a business like you're describing. We did too. And that, to me, that's kind of like having a child, you know?
Yes.
So you got this thing that's harder, you know, for the relationship. But then again, it can also grow it too, you know. Other than that, there's the looking at each person, and do they do things so that they're tapping into their own selves? So sometimes it's just human nature. We're talking psychology. If we're not happy with our lives, sometimes we project it on the closest one to us, which happens to be our spouse. And so if we're not taking time to check in with our inner selves, which is sort of self-nurturing, then oftentimes we get mad because the spouse is not doing it. So that's the first thing I look at. Are both of them happy with their individual lives and doing what they love and tapped into their life purpose and all that sort of, and taking time to go inside, like what are they feeling, that kind of thing.
I think you just hit the nail right, because you're so right in saying where, you know, what is going on in my life, right? And I know when I am stressed and overwhelmed with a lot of work on my plate, I'll come home and there'll be a time where it just builds up and I'll get snappy, or I'll get mad, right? And he's so good in kind of turning around and saying, okay, what is going on? Talk about it. Which is nice.
So there's that. And then what you mentioned a moment ago, which I thought was cool that you already mentioned it, Zaheen, was the skills on how do we communicate with one another. So I have two main skill sets that I teach. And one is what I call deep listening, and I can tell you a few pointers about that if you want. And then there's the how do you present your own reality or whatever, whatever's going on for you, or a request or these kinds of things, in a way that isn't blameful or have some kind of an undertone of a tone to it. Even if you say the perfect words, sometimes there's a tone behind it. So how do you say it clean, with no judgment and agenda, and no intention to change the other person?
Yes, please say that again.
Requests for behavior, for some kind of, you can make requests, but it's not about changing the other person or having a judgment about them. And that seems so simple. Most people are like, yeah, duh. But it actually is hard. When you're upset about something, it takes practice to get good at that.
Yes.
Yeah. And the deep listening is also about removing agendas, and undercurrent of judgment, and just being this really amazing container for someone and allowing them to completely unload whatever's going on for them, but doing it in a way that you're not becoming the target. So yeah, there's a lot of skills involved with that. People are, I know how to listen, but there's actually quite a bit involved with deep listening.
So the first one is deep listening. That's tip number one. Do you have another tip?
Okay, so when you give your message, if you want to share something, let's say you come home and you put in a 14-hour intense day or whatever, and your spouse is sitting there watching TV and there's dirty dishes in the sink or so. I'm just making this up, but and you want to make dinner, or you want to just get something to eat. Maybe there's an agreement that you're not eating that night or something, but you just want to go into a clean kitchen to fix something, and you're ready to just snap at your spouse. I'm making this up as I go, but so the tip I would like to say is try saying something fully in the I pronoun without one you.
Okay, so give us an example there.
So with there, you might say, I've had a really hard day, and I'm feeling some frustration in seeing the kitchen, and I would love to be able to come home and have a clean kitchen to fix something to eat.
Nice.
So notice I didn't say I could or swearing, whatever. I didn't say one thing about change of behavior. I basically made a request and expressed my desire.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is so true, that when a woman who has been working all day, just like her spouses, right?
Right.
Like they both work, they both come home, and she wants to make dinner, or maybe the spouse has made dinner, maybe he's the cook, I don't know, or whatever it is. But that's what happens, right? It's like you didn't do this, you didn't do the laundry, you didn't, blah, 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 right?
Right.
And I find that even being a leader, it's nice to take ownership by saying, I would like this.
Exactly.
It makes me feel like this, and it would be nice. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
But one last tip I just want to say is, if there is a recognition that something's not quite right in the relationship all around, like if the two of you have become more distant, or you're bickering more than you'd like, or something's going on that you're not really happy, the tip is to create a space to actually say that, but own it. It's just like I'm noticing we haven't had sex for 2 months or something. Or I'm just noticing, whatever it is that's going on, but say it in a non-blameful. And I would love it if we could come to some plan to address this. So like, get it out in the open, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
In a painful way.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that I also want to put out there, is that I know when August 12th, actually, if I can share that, I had gone to see my surgeon because I was diagnosed with cancer in my right breast. And so what happened was she went on and on about how I'm going to see disruption in my life for the next 4 to 6 months because I have to go for surgery, I have to go for chemo, and on and on and on. And I was just like that with my mouth open, huh? What? Wow. Right? Yeah. And that was the time that I really fell into a victim mindset, which is very normal. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as we become aware of that. But what I want to bring up is that I didn't realize that until, so that was on Friday, until Sunday, when I was just so, I just wanted to vent and scream, you know, and I had to open up that space with my spouse and say, look, I really need to vent. I may get emotional. I may cry. I don't know. But I need you to do 3 things. I need you to listen. Do not interrupt, number 2. And number 3, I need your help after. I need you to tell me something that will make me feel good. And I find that we forget to do that. We just say, oh, I just need to vent, and you're it. Well, that doesn't help. I think it's nice when we ask that, yeah, let me vent, but I need help as well.
I need help as well. And I also like that you said, like, don't interrupt, or because oftentimes, and it usually is placed on the male figure that they do this, but I see this with women too a lot, is that we, when we're the listener, and especially something as intense as you're describing, we want to be the fixer. And it ends up making everything worse because we often interrupt. We don't allow the person to completely get it all out. And when we're saying, well, have you tried this? Or why don't we do this? Or this and that, giving advice is the worst thing you can do when someone has that intense of emotions. They often just need you to be there as a holding container. And when they're all finished, then you can problem solve, like you're saying, get some help. You know, we can look at what would be the most helpful. But if he jumped in there before you got to express it all, it often makes everything worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, Kim, you have given us a lot of information and tips, and thank you so much. But I would like the listeners and the viewers to, if you could let them know how they can get a hold of you, and I know you have some gifts for them.
Yes, I do. And I'm excited to offer those. If you go to my web, I don't know if you're going to be putting any links on because there's a direct link, but if not, if you just go to thrivinglovingrelationships.com and you look at the top right corner, there's a gift picture, and I've got a couple things for singles and a couple things for couples. The one for couples is actually, I tried to make it as simple as possible, and I've refined it over the years. I've had this business since 1997, so it's evolved as I have evolved. But there's an assessment, and it's only 25 questions to see where your relationship is at. And it's fun when you can get your spouse to do it without you sharing, so you can just kind of compare. And then I have kind of a follow-up thing to see if you can address what you really think is important together. You don't always have to do the second follow-up part, but anyway, so 2-part video and questionnaire. And then I've got for singles, I mostly work with more, what I should say, evolve. I call them the evolved group. You know, and let's face it, they're probably 35 and up usually.
Right.
But, you know, they've gone through some hard knocks of learning about love and romance already. But anyway, and so I have a series of podcasts that all you have to do is sign up for it, and you get to their guided meditation, a little bit of instruction, and then guided meditation.
Oh, nice.
I've got like 4 of them to get you ready to be really in the right mindset to be drawing in a healthy, emotionally healthy mate.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay. And then I have one more thing I want to mention, though. Yes. I just put it on my website right below, like the main picture. There's if you click on learn more, I've actually have a way to get like half off my really deep and really valuable breakthrough sessions. One for singles and one for couples. So
awesome.
Yeah,
so there you have it. Lots of gifts. There's an assessment, 25 questionnaire assessment. There is a podcast that you can listen to for singles. And then she's also offering half off her breakthrough session. I mean, if I were you, and you want some more help with your relationship, dive in and get in it, because Kim, when you go to her website, you will see that she has so much to offer when it comes to thriving in relationships, especially when it comes to love. So, we've come to the end of the episode. Again, my name is Zaheen Nanji, and this is the Thrive in Life show, where we help we help you make resilience your first reflex. Okay, until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Thrive in Life with your hosts, Zaheen Nanji. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit ZaheenNanji.com. That's ZaheenNanji.com. We'll catch you on the next episode of Thrive in Life.